so much with any sophisticated scalar weapons that we're going to investigate, but simply with a few well-placed explosives at strategic points in the levee. Still another clue to it being a covert Black Ops military operation of highest priority is the presence of the little-known Special Forces unit, which is essentially a private unit called Blackwater Security. Private security force that were first heard of in Fallujah when 3 were killed by the people. When the people killed their 3 of their members who were trigger happy. Now back to the body count. Reports from the Army Corps of Engineers manning the super pump unit. There's something called the super pump unit, and this was brother out in Texas, Brother Mahir. He was part. Mahir, right. Brother Mahir was part. He used to be with Army Corps of Engineers. Brother Mahir told me a buddy of his got word that members of the engineering corps manning the super pump unit, a pump that moves about 1 million gallons an hour, had to stop their operations because the area where they were pumping the waters became clogged and backed up with bodies and body parts. Also, hundreds if not thousands of people were washed out to sea with the first great surge of water after the levees were blown. So much so that the Navy hired over 100 fishing vessels with super nets to prevent the bodies from washing up on the Florida coastline. Wow. So, see, only in the underground will you hear what's going on. Or you may have to go over to the net and know where to go. Also lost in the destruction of New Orleans, and this will never be discussed in any forum dealing with average black people, is the loss or total destruction of the ancient maps, which show that the ancestors of Africans or Moors are the true owners of the lands from which they were and are now being evicted. Ancient maps, as Brother Mahir in Texas reminded me, showing, for example, that Brazil was once called Egypt West, and Africa and South America were much closer, even attached. And the Moors were in the Americas for millennia, and that the lands of North America, called the Mexim, had Kemetic, Arabic, and Hebrew names. I don't know about y'all, but I'm getting angrier by just hearing this shit. Beloved brothers and sisters, beyond the sheer devastation brought about by this act of weather-modified co-ops mass murder in New Orleans, this event has triggered what history will show as a racial exodus of such magnitude not seen in the South since the Great Migration, pushed for jobs up north. It is also reminiscent of the forced migrations in the 19th century of the Cherokee people from their ancestral lands east of the Mississippi River to Oklahoma in what was then called the Trail of Tears. Even sadder still is that house niggas from soulless Christian conglomerates are totally self-absorbed and psychologically removed from this act. In fact, we are yet to see one of these high-profile Jesus pimp niggas come forward. They are ominously silent except to say that voodoo is what destroyed New Orleans.
That's what they're saying.
It's interesting to note that when you called to evacuate came out, not one Christian minister, as I repeat myself, came out and grabbed the people. They only got their own Christians, because those were the saved people. One pathetic example of a church house nigga, what I refer to as a masochistic nigga. Let me say that again. A masochistic nigga. See, I'm a wordsmith. And I do look at masochistic motherfuckers and I wonder why they like to punish themselves so much. Well, I have a new name for the jigaboo buck dancer. I have a new name for his sickness. He's a masochistic nigga. Shop depot. Shopping. Yep. I want to get to this point.
That was a hell of a shot back there.
Yeah, I'm going to get back to that. But I want to get to this point before I go back. Matter of fact, why don't I just do that? Before I even load this up. Why don't I go back to this? And alright, now here's your levee break. Here's the river. Here's the water estuaries. These levees are what are keeping the waters back. Again, this is the section from the 17th Street Canal that went. 7 explosions were heard in all. Maybe 2 or 3 here, and the rest at the other locations. But they heard at least 7. Approximately an area of 200 feet were broken at that level. You see how much water that it's keeping back? It's being channeled into a canal to keep it away from the residential areas. Here's the downtown French Quarters.
Right.
Here's the dome. Now remember that when the mayor said get out, they sent buses in on the other side of town and told the niggas that they had to get through the white quarters in order to get to those buses. They were met by crackers, as well as Israeli defense forces of the Mossad and the Misrahim, and were turned back, went back to their deaths. That's the French Quarter that was saved. The breach and the overflow. Remember, when this thing happens, this keeps rushing in order to rush it out. It all came this way. And what they did was, in the breaking of it, they had to break it on whatever side that the black people were, so that the water drained off to where the black people would be. This is the area of the bridge where the 5 men were shot, because they came to investigate this.
Right, the water's coming through.
Water's coming through, serious water. And they said, wait a minute, that don't even look correct. How could this piece right here, reinforced, how could that have been broken? It wasn't broken. It was blown up. And they had a gun battle right there where the police iced them. Said they killed 5 or 6. One was still in critical condition, but they weren't going to let you know. And the secret of that is 3 separate or 4 separate reports on that incident came out. I'm going to read them to you.
Absolutely. That's a powerful shot.
Here goes another powerful shot of how the blow destroyed. And how, look at this. Now this is a barge. Supposedly what they used, they put there that's the incidental, so that they can use that as the forensics. Well, they said, well, the barge did it. No, the barge was introduced later. This is all life, human beings. That's what's left. Water seeks its own level. Now here it is again. This is blown to save the quarters. Now they didn't care all about here. This is already underwater. But this was blown to save this part. Down here in the lowlands, brothers and sisters, now, to cover it real quick, they tried to do what they were releasing. So much water was coming in, and so many reporters were in the area where this section of the breach was there, so they had to do something. The rest of it, they said, fuck it, leave it. So they breached it because too many white people's homes were being threatened. This is the flood of 1927.
That's the one in New York?
No, that's New Orleans.
Because there was one in New York too.
Well, yeah, but New Orleans, we're using the forensics of New Orleans, because even back then, the people who owned the businesses went up to the state's government and demanded that they blow the levee, and wiped out all of the black communities and towns, killing at least 60 people. Excuse me, brothers and sisters. Okay, I have to do this good stuff here. Get you out of here, right? All right. Where's my computer? Okay. All right, we're back again. I'm learning this. I'm doing pretty good. All right, y'all. Are you ready to meet a masochistic nigga?
Masochistic nigga.
Yeah, he's here. Don't you get to know this man? Because I just had to include him in here. You know, I didn't know. I was going to let him pass. But I figured that it was necessary for me. Where is it? Double click on it. Double click on one. Yeah? Okay, good. Alright, now, I want you to take a look at this house Negro. And what we're going to do...
Look like...
Brothers and sisters, this came out over CBN. This is Pat Robinson's house Negro to call on when he wants the 700 Club to hate niggas, but to love this kind of Negro.
Valentine boom.
Listen carefully. People looting themselves. Wellington says, thank you, Sonia. There is the compassionate side of the story, and then the responsible side of the story in New Orleans. We need to consider the culture of those people, still stranded in New Orleans. The looting of property, the trashing of property, etc., speaks to the basic character of the people. Wellington can't believe that as they are on the world stage, the people are looting themselves. These people who have gone through slavery, segregation, and the Voting Rights Act are doing this to themselves. They look like a developing nation. Wellington is looking for the cry of cultural disapproval, but he says it is also an opportunity for extravagant benevolence. Wellington also is outraged at the sudden spike in gas prices, calling that blah blah blah. What the body of Christ must do for the Gulf Coast. Wellington says we must realize that the entire lives of our fellow citizens will be reconstructed. Kids will miss an entire year of school. Single mothers have absolutely nothing for their children. This weekend, families from Wellington's church are taking in 9 displaced families. We need to think of going to New Orleans, preaching the gospel, and feeding the people. Preaching the gospel before feeding the people. Listen carefully, people. While Americans look to everything from million-man marches to rock concerts and television sitcoms, now I want y'all to wait. Are you all paying attention?
Yeah.
Are you all paying attention?
Yes.
Is the church paying attention?
No.
Oh, good. Is the MU Metaphysical Underground Blue Children paying attention?
Yeah.
Well, listen up carefully, goddammit. Wellington Boone offers readers a surprising path to fulfillment. Be a worm.
Be a worm.
Listen. Sound harsh, maybe, but the author of Breaking Through writes that as common as worms are in the dirt, they are as rare and precious as fine diamonds in the church. Worms are people who allow themselves to be broken and humbled as they model Christ's character. They seek to serve rather than to assert their power and authority. As a result, they become leaders and reconcilers between man and God, between races and nations, taking God's kingdom into the culture. Boone inspires readers to choose the worm's path of humility, recounting the stories of faithful church fathers like William Seymour, possibly the most important African-American religious leader in U.S. history. Seymour suffered humiliating discrimination by so-called believers